thanks so much for joining me today. Today I'm going to be doing a take off of the polish as well as a manicure. I've had some requests of what my normal nail care regimen is, and also to put some details as far as what type of products I use and what the difference between different techniques that I use in order to keep my manicure long lasting. This manicure here, I've had it on for a little over a week. As you can see, there is some wear, some tip wear here. So overall, it's not horribly bad. I do have some growth. As you can see here, my hands are very dry, and so I'm going to go ahead and go over all the details to go ahead and re-moisturize, because for me, when I start getting dry spots, I start picking. I'm one of these kind of people who pick a finger, and it's usually my thumb. So it's a bad habit that I'm trying to stop. But what I'm going to be doing today and showing you guys will go ahead and help with relieving those dry cuticles as well. So the first thing I'm going to do, of course, is I'm going to remove my polish, and what I use is pure acetone. I know there's lots of people who say that pure acetone is not good for your fingers because it does dry out your fingers. I agree with that. However, for me, because I do moisturize my fingers, or I try to anyway, very often, then it's not really a problem for me. What I like about it is it makes my manicure process go a lot faster. So that's just pure acetone. Didn't take more than a second and it's already coming off. I also have regular nail polish remover. However, with regular nail polish remover, it just tends to take a little bit longer. And I find that with that, depending on what kind of polish I have on, whether it's a glitter polish or just a plain colored polish, my nails may become sore because of all the rubbing that I do, especially with the glitter polishes. So I do have some techniques on how to remove glitter polish, easier, quick ways that don't take so long. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove the polish here. There's no rhyme or reason to what it is that I'm actually doing here. It's just trying to remove it as much as possible. Okay, so I've gone ahead and removed all the polish from all my nails as best as I can. It's okay if you have some in the cracks of your nails. That'll be taken care of here shortly. I do also have a little bit of staining on my nails, so I apologize for that. I've been wearing some bright colors lately. The next thing that I do during my manicure after I've removed all of my polish is I'm going to go ahead and file my nails. Right now I have kind of a square, short look to my nail. What I'm wanting to do though is I'm going to want to round them off a little bit. I'm just wanting a different look right now. So there are a number of different kinds of files, of course, that you can use. The files that I use are, you can get them at your local beauty supply store. I just use a normal file here. It's got a not so like a finer grit on one side and a more coarse on another. I use this one here. I also have a more rectangular one. I try to use files that aren't made out of wood or any sort of pressed component, only because I do sometimes file my nails on the edge, and it's been a time or two where I've actually gotten some sort of splinter. So to avoid that, I try not to use those wooden ones. I like them a lot because they're usually they're thinner and I can get in that crack. So now lately what I've been doing is I've been using just a regular metal file to get into those little areas in here. Another good file to use that is less damaging to your fingers or to your nails is going to be a glass file. and these you can get them at your local drugstore or beauty supply store also. These come in handy. I like these quite a bit, especially when I'm just trying to make a very smooth edge without any ridges. This is usually a finishing touch. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and I'll show you guys what I do to kind of round out my nail. So you can see here my thumb is a little bit rounded. I'm going to try to stay in the camera angle while I do this, but basically since they were square, if you're going to do square, it's usually either one way, back and forth. Really try not to go, you know, like a sawing motion, even though sometimes I tend to do that, but that could split your nails depending on your nails. For me, it's not a problem. It doesn't split my nails. So instead of going in a back and forth motion, you can angle it and just basically make it more of a rounded. This doesn't work for everybody as far as a nail style. Some people can actually do a very pointed nail, which I know is like very in right now. I'm not one of those people. I can't do that. That's not my lifestyle. I like to keep them short. I am on a computer all day long, so I type a lot, and I need to keep them rather short to be efficient in my typing. So what I like to do, this is a bad angle, I'm sorry guys. What I like to do is file them across, and then from here, file them at an angle. Try to keep them even. Okay. Okay, so I filed my nails to the shape that I want. So the next thing that I do now is I work on my skin here. So you can see with this one, this is one of my problem nails. I have skin that my cuticle tends to grow very close to growing onto my nail. So I push back my cuticles. I try not to ever cut them. But for right now, what I'm going to show you guys is how I clean up all this roughness. They do also look pretty bad only because I just filed, so all that extra nail dust is all around. But what I do basically is I use still the file, and I just file around the side of my finger. Just you want to think of it kind of like you're buffing out your foot when you're having, for example, a pedicure. You don't have to necessarily use the rough side. You could if you have really problem skin, or of course you can use the softer side for more gentle. All you're really doing is just smoothing it out. It doesn't hurt. Make sure you don't spend too much time because it could hurt. You can end up just like on your feet, you can kind of burn an area. I'm trying to stay away from my actual nail, so I'm not digging into the nail. I'm at an angle away from the nail and just concentrating on my skin area. So I'm just going to do another one here so you guys can see. I'm trying to get my camera to focus. Doesn't really want to cooperate. Apologize for this angle. It's kind of hard for me. It's really just the sides of your nails. It's not anywhere on the top unless you do have issues there. That's not really an issue for me. Now I already have a pulled cuticle here, so I'm just going to be very careful. I'm still going to file over that, so just be careful if you do have something like that. Just go over very nicely, very, very softly, gentle. Alright, so the next thing, now that I've gone ahead and buffed out my skin around my nails, is I'm going to be working on my cuticles and softening them and pushing them. So what I use here is a cuticle softener and remover. You can get this again at your local beauty supply store if they have something similar. And basically all it is, it's a kind of creamy texture to it. So you can see, just kind of squeeze that through, and you can kind of rub that into your fingers. And what I really like to use is a cuticle pusher. There's lots of different cuticle pushers that you can use. Some people like to use an orange stick. I personally don't like that. I have a metal stainless steel cuticle pusher here. This seems to do the job just perfect for me. So I'm going to go ahead and get this started, and what you're basically going to do is just push around your cuticle. You're just very gently. You're not trying to get under the skin or anything. You're just trying to push that through. For me, around the sides of my fingers here is where I get a lot of the skin that's attached to my nail. So I like to use this to kind of work it in and really push it away and scrape it away. Get right in the corner there. For some reason my middle fingers are my cuticle problem fingers. This is also removing some of the polish that's stuck in the cracks there, so that's rather nice. I'm just going to go ahead and continue with my other hand, and I'll be back in just a moment. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to be doing in this regimen here, after I've put that cuticle conditioner, you can see already a big difference. So the next thing I do is I buff out my nails, and I use one of these blocks. This is a very fine grit. I don't use a very harsh one. I'm not trying to make any sort of changes, really. I'm just trying to buff it out. Sometimes I do get lines, especially on my thumbnails. It seems like right now I don't, but what I do like to get rid of with this buffing block is the growth. I don't know if you can see that here. It's kind of uneven, I know this is removing the top layer basically of your nail, but just very, very lightly. Just like that. So after I buffed out my nails, I did a really good wash with a nail brush to get rid of all of the excess nail dust, as well as just to clean off that cuticle conditioner. So as you can see here, this is basically how it looks. It's not too bad. It's not perfect, but it's much better than how I started. So there's the finished look from the actual maintenance of the nails. Now what we're going to go ahead and do is talk about how to get a long-lasting manicure. These are my tips that I have. This is what works for me. Everybody of course is different, but the very first thing that we're going to need is we're going to need a base coat. I've been doing my nails ever since I was a little girl, and of course when I was little I didn't care about a base coat, but my nail polish would always chip. So for me, it's good to put a base coat. It protects your nail from staining. If my nails were a little bit stained, I do wear a lot of dark colors. However, if I didn't have a base coat, I can imagine that my nails would be much more yellowed or just stained in general. So I have 3 different types of base coats that I use, and I pretty much just alternate them. There isn't any one special. One of the ones that I have here is a Sèche-Vite base coat. This one's a pretty good one. It's clear. It's not as thick as the top coat, which I like, but this comes in handy when it's just something that I need that's real quick. Clear base coat. Some of the other ones I have this is a Sèche-Vite one also. It's a reconditioning base coat. As you can see here, this is the one that I'm using the most right now because it's about more than halfway through. I didn't ever know that they had these when I went to my beauty supply shop. It was, you know, buy 2 polishes and you got one of these for free. So that's the only reason why I have some of the base coats that I do, and I just try them out, and whichever works for me, I use. This is another one that I got that's also a Sèche-Vite one. This is a retain for moisture and durable nails. So this comes in handy. I tend to use this one more when my nails are longer. Sometimes I do let them grow out quite long. And this is good only because for that durability. But for the most part, I've been using this reconditioning one, especially since winter is just finishing up, and my nails tended to get a little dry. So I'm gonna go ahead and get in close here. So basically when I'm taking out my polish, I know there's some people who they do this and barely get any polish on. There's some people who they do this and barely get it. I can't stand that because, as you can see here, it just like ruined my bottle, and that drives me insane because it makes it harder to close. For me, what I do is I usually tilt my bottle all the way so that I get the most on my brush, and I only remove it from one side. So I have a big old glob on one side and the other side's clean. And what I do from there, let's see if we can focus this here. Let me try that again. And what I do from there is I just dab it to the base of the nail, and I kind of push it up and down, push it up and down, and then move over, push it up and down. I try to do them very thin layers. So what I did just there was I cleaned off the brush and I'm kind of spreading it out. You can even cap off the nail here on your free edge. So let me do that again. So I'm getting my bottle and I'm making sure that I have polish only on one side of the brush, not both. I'm gonna go to the base of the nail, push down my brush, push up and then down, and then move it over, up and down, up and down. It's really just 3 major movements. That's the main thing. You just want to get the nail covered and then cap it off. I'm going to do it one more time here with this nail. I'm going to load my brush and I'm going to put it on the base, push it up and down, up and down, up and down. And then just make sure I have the whole nail covered. Now remember, capping it off at the end of your free edge, that's completely optional. You don't have to do that, but that's something that I like to do. Makes it just that much more professional, I guess, looking. I didn't always do it, but I do like the result of it when I do it. Here's my thumbnail. Trying to get this in focus here. Here we go. Now it's okay if you don't get your polish all the way to your cuticle. For me, that's fine. I change my polish out so often. I really don't like to get it all the way up to the cuticle, because then what happens is if it gets up to the cuticle like here, you can get some flooding, especially if you have a darker polish. As you can see, there is some polish there, so what you can do is, of course, you can get an orange stick and kind of clean that up. For the base coat, it's not that big of a deal, but when you get the color on, that's when you're really wanting to clean it up a little more. And then last, I have my pinky. And this one's going to be pretty quick because it's so much smaller. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do my other hand, and then we're going to go ahead and get started on color. Alright, so I've gone ahead and I've done the base coat on all of my nails, as you can see here. The next thing we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to set my polish. The color I've chosen to use right now is this really pretty yellow color. It's more of like a pastel yellow. And this one is from China Glaze, and it's called Lemon Fizz. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is basically the same thing. I'm going to tilt my bottle over and only gather polish on one side of the brush. So that's the side I've removed, and that's my loaded side. I'm going to do the same thing here. Now I try to put as much polish on the brush as I can. Number one, to avoid it from being very streaky, only because if there's not a whole lot of polish on it, it will become streaky. As you can see here, this polish is streaky. It's just the nature of this polish, but we'll go ahead and we'll fix that up. So you want to do very, very thin coats, not very thick. That is a key for me to avoid any sort of chipping. I hardly ever have chipping on my nails, and I think it's just basically due to not having a whole lot of thick polish on. I try to spread it out as thinly as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can take your time. Okay, so I've completed one coat of the polish. Now I'm going to go ahead and start off on my second coat. My second coat is going to be just as thin, but I'm going to try to even it out, especially over where I have a lot of the streaky areas, which is mostly at the top area. It's okay if you do get some on your nail. I'm going to show you how to clean that up here too. Oops, I just snagged that. One trick that I do, if that were to happen, if it's still wet, is you can smooth that out very lightly. All I do is, it's kind of gross I guess, but I lick my finger and then kind of smooth it down. So that'll work for now. So I got nice and smooth again. Okay, so here we go. Some people have asked me which hand I paint first. I always paint my left hand first, which is my non-dominant hand. It's just easier for me that way. I guess I rather have the hand that looks the best done first, and I have no really rhyme or reason as to which finger I paint first. It just really depends. Sometimes I want to start off with my pinky, but if I have a whole lot of paint on my polish or my brush, I tend to use it on another finger. So sometimes I'll start with my thumb, sometimes I'll start with my middle finger. It just depends. So as you can see here, I put it just a little bit thicker, and I'm not so heavy on my hand, but I'm still making the layer real thin, and I'm also capping off the ends there. Okay, so this is a bit of what we were talking about here earlier about the pooling. I don't like that to happen, so with the orange stick you can kind of just clean that up. Just like that, and that kind of guides it. Okay, so I've done my second coat on all of my nails. Now I'm going to go ahead and clean up. So what I like to use is, I like to use a brush. This is a brush that I got at my grocery store. It's a makeup brush. I think it's like a concealer brush or a lip brush, something like that, something small. I like to use something that has stiff bristles. It just really depends on what you like. I don't spend a whole lot of money on these brushes because, again, I use acetone to clean up my nails, and the acetone over time will go ahead and eat up the bristles, so I don't really care how much I spend. I try to get something inexpensive. There are a bunch of different polish brushes that you can use. Here's another one. I tried this one out. I don't like it because once it's wet, it's not so stiff, so this could work for certain things, but not for removing of the polish that I like. You can also get even more detailed and use, this is an art brush, and you can clean it up that way. I just don't have patience with this one. Sometimes I use it, not very often, but it just depends on what works best for you. So the brush that I'm going to be using is this one here, and I have some acetone right here in a little container that I got at my local craft store. So you can see here I have a little critter in there. When I poured my acetone, I guess I didn't realize there was a little spider. See that? Poor little guy just died in there. Sorry, little guy. That was an accident. I didn't do that on purpose. So basically, I'm going to get my brush and dip it. I don't want it soaking. I just want it wet, damp. And because it's acetone, it's basically just going to disintegrate that polish very quickly, so you don't have to really rub hard or anything. If you have some underneath, you can get it there. You're just really barely gonna touch it. And then you can wipe it off on a paper towel to keep it clean. And here you go. I don't worry too much about polish that's stuck in a crack. For example, right here, I have polish right in there, like I would have to move my skin to get that. I can try my best to get it with the brush without messing up my shape of the polish, but I'm not going to care too much because as I wash my hands, as I wash dishes, that polish is just gonna come right off, so it doesn't matter to me. But if you're real picky, by all means, get a smaller brush or move your skin aside. Okay. Alright, so I've cleaned up all the cuticle areas with the acetone and the little brush. So the last thing that I'm going to do to go ahead and seal the deal is I'm going to be applying a top coat. Now the top coat is going to be basically whatever you're comfortable with, whatever works well for you. For me right now, I'm using Seche Vite top coat. It's a quick dry top coat. Any quick dry one will work fine. You can even use one that takes a little longer. That's completely up to you. If you have time, I don't have time. So this is what I use. Another one that works really good that I like is this Diamond Dry. It's a high shine, quick dry top coat also. It's very similar to Seche Vite, and I like them both. I'm gonna go ahead and put Seche Vite on right now. This was a newer bottle, obviously, and this is a bottle that I'm finishing up. So I'm gonna go ahead and use this one now. The thing with this polish though is once it gets to about this level, which as you can see it's almost done, it does get rather thick and stringy, but it still works for me. I don't have a problem with it. So I'm gonna do the same technique as I've been doing with all my other polish. The way I grab it is I'm just gonna tilt it over until I get like a pull of it. In this case, what I'm gonna do is I just try to gather as much polish as I can, and I just barely wipe it off so I have a big old dollop of it. This is where you may want to go a little thick, or for me, I go a little thick anyway, because I want to make sure that I cover everywhere. And then cap that. The nice thing about this top coat is if it does come up a little streaky, it will set where it comes out very, very smooth, so it kind of just moves into place. This is also a really great polish top coat if you have made a mistake. Say you bumped one of your nails and you want to hide it. This is a good polish because it will hide those imperfections. I highly recommend it. You can get this polish at your local beauty supply store, online, department stores. They have it like at Target and Walmart, I know now. Okay, so I'm all done with this manicure, and the top coat has dried. That Seche Vite, it hasn't even been like I did this hand and then I did this hand and waited a minute or two, and it's so dry so quickly, it's touchable. So now the last thing that I'm gonna do is I'm going to apply moisturizer, and so I like to use a body butter, only because it's very, very thick, and I use maybe about that much. Basically just to moisturize my hands, because if my hands don't feel moisturized, then my nails won't feel moisturized. I try to get it all around my hands and around my finger area. Massage it in. Just make sure that your polish is dry, or else you'll have some issues. Very lightly over. so my hands look much better than before when we started. Alright, and then the very last thing that I'm gonna do to have my manicure all finished up is I'm going to apply the cuticle oil. You can get a cuticle oil anywhere. This one's just from Sally Beauty. There's tons of different kinds around. This works best for me because it's already from my local Sally, and that's usually where I get most of my supplies, either from Sally or from Ulta. So you're just gonna grab some and just dab it over all around your nails. And then you're just gonna massage that in. And that's it. If you have any questions on this little tutorial here, please leave those down for me. If you have any comments, please leave those down. That's basically how I got the information to do this. Someone was nice enough to go ahead and place a message on what my nail care routine was, and then I had some feedback from some friends of mine who wanted a more detailed as far as what products I use. This works for me. People who know me and see me all the time know that my manicures usually last if I don't change them. I usually try to change my nails at least every 3 to 4 days just because I get bored. But this is a quick and easy way, especially if you want to get started with doing your nails or just wanting the basics and what products are needed. This is a really good way to go ahead and get that started. So please go ahead and leave me some extra comments on here. Anything that you'd like to see in the future. I'd also like to know, I am going to be doing a challenge. It's mainly for a challenge for myself, to help you guys in getting more videos out. But instead of doing like a 30-day challenge, I'm not going to be posting a video every day. I can't do that. My schedule doesn't allow that. But if I did a 30-day challenge, it could be something in like a 30-week, and I'll post a video weekly. And that's going to be more of techniques, not necessarily certain nail art, even though the techniques do show different nail art designs. So I'm almost done with my list. As soon as I get my list done, I only need a few more to go ahead and complete my list. So if you have any suggestions on what you'd like to see for the challenge, or what I can do to challenge myself, please leave that information in the comments section, and I'll be sure to go ahead and read those over and make those in those videos. So I appreciate you guys watching these videos and learning from them, and thanks so much for watching, guys.